Hello and welcome to the MAC weather page for this Thursday, September 8th, and we got a rather muggy, warm start to the day. We got thunderstorms developing off to our southwest. They'll try to move into the southeastern half of lower Michigan here this morning, but eventually I think the cooler air mass and drier air mass will win out towards the afternoon and push that rain off to our south. So the headlines for today looks like rain mainly this morning, possibly into the early afternoon across southeast lower Michigan over into southwest Ontario. And then I think we have a chance of some pretty strong storms as we get into Friday night and Saturday after a fairly dry day on Friday. And then I think some nice changes will occur towards the middle of next week as we see a big Canadian high pressure system move in. And that could give us some nice, dry, sunny weather for the second half of next week after around the storms perhaps Tuesday and Tuesday night out ahead of that cold front. And again, I think temperatures by the middle and end of next week could be in the 70s by day and lows in the 40s and 50s, and that should help jumpstart the edible bean harvest and then eventually soybean harvest around the area. If we look at our normals for the day, our normal high is 77, the normal low is 52. A year ago on this date, we had a high of 83 and a low of 68 with 2/3 of an inch of rainfall, and we had a peak gust that day of 22 miles an hour, and the winds were dominant out of the west. If we look at the conditions around the area for yesterday, you can see temperatures were quite warm, very hot indeed across the southern southeastern part of the state. Temperatures in the upper 70s to the mid 80s across the northwest area, just like we thought. And then again, those low 90 temperatures with dew points in the 70s made for heat index temperatures around 105 to 110 degrees. And that's the area where they had heat advisories. And as expected, the heaviest rainfall was forecasted and occurred across the northwestern MAC areas. 1.26 inches of rain at Newaygo, 1.34 in Brucknes, just over 6/10 of an inch at Middleton, and around 2/10 at Clarksville, and lesser amounts as you went to the south and east. And as far as the lightning last night, about 7, 8 o'clock, we had a very persistent area of thunderstorms producing a lot of lightning across Mount Calm, portions of Ionia and Clinton, Gratiot County, over into Midland and Gladwin, Arooneck and Bay counties into Saginaw counties. And again, it was a pretty significant storm that moved through the area. And some of the rainfall totals so far here over the last couple of days, Newaygo leads the way at 1.55, Breckenridge at 1.36, and Middleton just over 6/10 of an inch of rain. And we still have more that we could add on to these totals this morning, again, especially across the southern part of the state. If we look at the newest 90-degree club members, you can see Jasper picked up one yesterday, now up to 11, Blissfield up to 9, and London now at 4. So I think there's a real good chance that this may be our last 90-degree day we see until perhaps next year. No guarantees. It's certainly possible we could get another very warm spell, but the odds are increasing that we may have seen our last 90-degree temperatures here in the state. If we look at the conditions around the area this morning, very warm, very humid. 77 degrees this morning at Blissfield, and temperatures in the low 70s across the rest of the area as well. On radar, you can see that area of thunderstorms somewhat diminishing across the southern part of the state, but we see some new activity all the way from Kansas into Missouri, up into southeast Iowa, northern Illinois, and again, some of that's going to be moving into the area. And we think this because you can see the cooling cloud tops occurring again back towards Kansas and to Missouri and into eastern Iowa, and these are developing storms. So we do expect as they make that round to the right, we do expect that they'll come into at least the southern part of the portions of the state here for this morning, possibly into early afternoon. If we look at the forecasted map yesterday, you can see the WPC did a fine job of predicting where the heaviest rainfalls would occur, and that was across the northwestern portions of the MAC area. As far as this morning's weather map, you can see our next weather maker now out into the panhandle of Texas and Oklahoma. It'll be moving just off to our northwest here as we get into tomorrow night and Saturday, followed by a cold front, and that's going to bring us our next chance of perhaps some strong thunderstorms. You can see on the weather map for this tomorrow morning, you can see that low pressure system moving into Iowa, and again, it'll move through Wisconsin into northern lower Michigan as we get into Saturday morning. And again, I think we'll see a chance of significant storms here Friday night into early Saturday. As far as yesterday, you can see the day 3 outlook mainly had marginal severe chances well back to our southwest. I said this is the area in yellow that I outlined that we need to keep an eye on here over the next couple of days, as we do expect, or I expect anyway, some strong storms across the area Friday night into Saturday. You can see the very latest severe weather outlook, the day 2 outlook for Friday night, and now has increased that area into a slight risk. and has moved the marginal risk farther to the north. And again, I think by the time it's all said and done, we'll see the Storm Prediction Center have at least a marginal risk for much of lower Michigan, and perhaps even a slight risk across southeast lower Michigan. But we'll wait and see what happens. As far as precipitation over the next 7 days, looks like about a ½ inch to an inch. Again, that'll be for the rain not only for tomorrow night into early Saturday, but then as that cold front comes through later on Tuesday, that'll bring us some nice cooler changes. As far as the extended outlook, you can see that trough trying to keep a lot of cool temperatures and trying to push it further east, and I think eventually it will somewhat succeed. But I don't think we're going to get real cold. I think mainly just near to maybe slightly below normal temperatures, back and forth maybe to a little above. So not too bad of a weather pattern as far as temperatures goes, and as far as moisture, near to maybe a little bit above normal here once we get past this rainy period we're in now. And if this is what I call the face of winter, and it looks like it's not a real happy face, and I think that's because we have replaced the El Nino with at least a weak La Nina or a neutral pattern, and that bodes well for a colder than normal winter for Michigan. And then you add the warm waters off the west coast and the east coast. That should promote ridging in those areas, then create a natural desire to make a trough across much of central Canada down into the central U.S., Great Lakes, and Midwest. Again, I think the coldest temperatures this winter are going to be across the northern plains into the upper Midwest and across the Great Lakes. And again, I'll have my official winter forecast, or my preliminary winter forecast October 1st, and then I'll have my final winter forecast on November 1st. Thanks for stopping by, and have yourself a great day, and 73s to all.